Pokemon is one of, if not my favorite game series of all time. There are literally hundreds of different Pokemon, each unique in their own way. Whether they're cool, cute, or yes, even weird, we all have our favorites. I recently thought very hard about what Pokemon I like the most, and now I finally picked them. Here are my top 10 favorite Pokemon. Number 10, Kyogre. Yes, I have a legendary on this list. Who doesn't like legendary Pokemon anyway? Kyogre is on this list for no other reason than the fact that he's just so cool. For the longest time, Groudon was my favorite Hoenn legendary because of his cool type and design. Then Rayquaza started to grow on me because of how sick its Mega was and just how awesome it was in general. But all that changed in an instant. I used a Kyogre once and immediately fell in love with it. It's better than Groudon in almost every way, in my opinion at least. If you remember that cutscene in Pokemon Emerald where they're fighting and Groudon's just standing in the middle of the water like an idiot, you probably know why I think that. I love this Pokemon's move pool, which is a big deal, because that is often the thing that makes me enjoy using a Pokemon so much. It's got a great design, it's fun to use, and is definitely one of the coolest legendary Pokemon of all time. Number 9, Primarina. When Pokemon Sun and Moon came out, I didn't really have a favorite starter. All I knew is that I was not picking that dumb, ugly seal thing. I tried using it and it quickly grew on me, and eventually surpassing the other starters in likability. I love Poplio's little ear things and just its overall cute personality. But then it evolved to Brionne, and I was thinking that it wasn't the best design ever, but its final evolution has potential to look really good. And oh my gosh, it does. It's got a really cool premise and its fairy type complements it very well. And yes, it did become my favorite starter Pokemon. I originally thought I would have 2 or 3 starter Pokemon in this list just because they're all so cool. But it turns out there are a lot of other Pokemon that are way cooler, leaving Primarina at number 9. Number 8, Toadscool. Yes, I do have a Gen 9 Pokemon on this list. This is one of the 2 Pokemon on this list that I have never used before, but I love anyway. Tentacool was a Pokemon that I've never really cared for. I've always kind of liked Tentacruel, but it was never near my favorite. When I first saw Toadscool, however, the first thing that came to my mind was, that walk is the absolute most cute thing that I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Yep, that is the main reason it is on this list. If you can watch a Toadscool walking and hold a straight face, then you literally have to be made of stone. I also do like the fact that its type changed so that it's more of a land-based Pokemon instead, but the reason I didn't pick Toadscool was because Toadscool looks cuter and funnier when it walks just because it has 2 tentacles to walk on. This fact alone is why it made it to the number 8 spot on this list. Number 7, Tadbulb. What? 2 Gen 9 Pokemon on this list in a row? I know, I can't believe it either. When I first made this list, I thought to myself, it'd be kind of cool to have a Gen 9 Pokemon on this list. I've never actually expected to have one, but 2 different Generation 9 Pokemon on it. This is the other Pokemon on this list that I've never used either, but wish I did and plan to in the future. Why do I like it so much? It is actually the cutest Pokemon to ever exist. Look at this face. Is this not actually the cutest face you've ever seen? It's also really tiny, which makes it even cuter somehow. And to top it all off, it's my favorite Pokemon type, so how on earth could I not immediately love this thing? I like its evolution too, but the reason Tadbulb is on this list instead is because it takes what Bellibolt has and makes it even cuter somehow. If this Pokemon didn't exist, I would have probably put Licky Licky in the spot, just because its cute face and funny tongue. It might have been higher on this list as well if I had more time to bond with it, but it stays here on number 7 in this list, making it my definitive favorite Pokemon from Gen 9. Number 6, Zekrom. What can I say here, honestly? Look at this thing. If you don't think that this thing's cool just by looking at it, then I don't know what's wrong with your eyeballs. As I mentioned before, I love the electric type. I also love the dragon type. You combine these 2 types, make a giant, paint it black, and you have one of the coolest looking legendary Pokemon to ever exist. This Pokemon is the reason I picked Pokemon White and then picked Pokemon Black too. I don't just love it for its design though. Since it's a legendary, it's really strong and also has a pretty great move pool, making it really fun to use in battle. If I was a trainer in the real world, I could see myself using this thing and just making people poop their pants. That being said, I love Zekrom, and it has earned its spot as number 6 on this list. Number 5, Zapdos. Okay, I promise, this is the last legendary on this list, but I had to put it. I have always been Team Instinct mainly because of this Pokemon alone. It's electric type, check. It's yellow, my favorite color, check. It's huge, check. What is there not to love about this thing? It is easily the strongest legendary bird because of its great typing, and it's amazing in battle, but it also does have the best design out of the three. If I wasn't as attached to it, Zekrom would probably be my favorite legendary, but Zapdos has been around since the beginning, making it an OG. I love this Pokemon, and I'm always excited to use one when I get the chance, earning this Pokemon the number 5 spot on this list. Number 4, Dunsparce. Out of all the Pokemon on this list, this one is probably the least popular. Its stats aren't anything special, its type is boring, its moveset's decent but not amazing, and its design is rather average. So why do I love this Pokemon so much? To be honest, I actually have no idea. I just love it. It's yellow. That's pretty cool. The only reason I can think of why I like it is because I've used it many times before, and each time I use it, I always have a blast. It is hands down one of my favorite Pokemon to use because of what moves it gets. First of all, it has Serene Grace, one of the most broken abilities a Pokemon can get. If you don't know what that is, it means that every move that is used that has a bonus effect, the odds of that added effect occurring are doubled. That, along with really fun moves to use like Coil, Ancient Power, Glare, and Return, and you got a really interesting Pokemon to use. It also has a huge move pool, so when you use it, no one will know what you're going to do next, somehow making it to the number 4 spot on this list. Number 3, Espeon. Yes, there is an evolution on this list, and that Pokemon has to be Espeon. I've had a long history of my favorite evolutions, surprisingly. First it was Umbreon because of its cool type and even cooler design. Then it was Jolteon because I loved the electric type, its design, and its stats were really good. Then ultimately it became Espeon because of all the reasons listed above and more. I still think Umbreon's design is better, but why I love Espeon more is because Umbreon is just not fun to use. I like fast and strong Pokemon, and Umbreon is quite literally the opposite of that. If Espeon and Umbreon stats were swapped, I would probably like Umbreon more. Umbreon is by no means my least favorite evolution, but it is not my favorite. I didn't come here to hate on Umbreon though. In fact, I kind of like that it's like that because it makes it feel like Umbreon and Espeon are kind of polar opposites, seeing as they were released in the same generation. Espeon is similar to Jolteon stat-wise, but the reason I like it more is because Jolteon's move pool is just really bad. They both have great special attack and speed, but I just enjoy using Espeon more. It's strong, fun to use, and has a great type and design, bringing it to number 3 on this list. Number 2. Ampharos. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys thought this Pokemon was going to be number 1 on the list, seeing that it's my channel mascot. I love Ampharos. It's both cute and cool at the same time, and I believe it to be the pinnacle of Pokemon design. Every single time that I get the opportunity to use this thing, I do. This Pokemon is pretty much perfect. The only thing I could think of about it that I don't like is its speed stat. That's it. That is the only thing that could improve this Pokemon. Its shiny doesn't compare, its Mega Form doesn't compare, although its Mega Form is cool too. I wish this Pokemon had a regional form like a lot of other Pokemon, but not yet, unfortunately. But even then, it couldn't compare to its original form. I honestly can't even put into words why I love this Pokemon as much as I do. Anything that you like about your favorite Pokemon is probably what I love about Ampharos too. It's my choice as a channel mascot because not too many people have it as theirs, and it's also underappreciated. There isn't a lot of people that dislike this Pokemon, but I feel that I don't see it on any favorite Pokemon lists, and I have no idea why. It's just a very well-rounded Pokemon inside and out, making it number 2 on this list. Number 1, Kabutops. It was 2018. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee just came out. I remember distinctly getting a Nintendo Switch purely just to get this game. I went into my room, plugged it in, and started playing. It was nice and refreshing to play a Pokemon game that was a little different from the others, but I still did like the battling aspect because that is one of the main reasons I love Pokemon in the first place. This was one of the few times I didn't know what my team would look like beforehand. In Mount Moon, I picked up the Dome Fossil because everyone picked the Helix Fossil and I had no idea why. I played through the game like normal and made it to Cinnabar Island. I revived my fossil into Kabuto, It was a pretty weird looking Pokemon, but I evolved it into a Kabutops because, well, I thought it looked cool. I taught it some really cool moves and started battling it. I instantly loved it as soon as I started using it. I used Swords Dance, Waterfall, X-Scissor, and Rock Slide. This was the perfect moveset this thing could get, and oh my gosh was it fun. This Pokemon is actually the closest thing to perfection you can get to in a Pokemon game. It has really cool Scythe hands. Let me repeat that. Scythe hands. That is such a cool concept. Its type is very cool too. Rock type? Yeah, I could see that. Water type? I don't see it personally, but I think it makes it even better. Its stats are also great. It's not the fastest, but its defenses are decent. Get this thing a Jolly Nature and you can move mountains. It's also a living fossil. That concept is cool on its own, but I love the whole story about Genesect might be a Kabutops that Team Plasma revived and modified. That is so cool. I do believe this theory is true because there are way too many coincidences for it to not be the case. Genesect is also a cool Pokemon, but nowhere near as awesome as Kabutops. Unfortunately, the problem with this Pokemon is it doesn't get nearly as much attention as it deserves. This is one of the few perfect Gen 1 Pokemon, but people never really seem to talk about it as much as they should. It gets overshadowed by Omastar, which is a real shame because Kabutops has what Omastar has, but way better. I spent a really long time trying to decide if I liked Ampharos or Kabutops more, and Kabutops just barely outranks Ampharos. I love Ampharos, more as a Pokemon itself, but Kabutops just has a little something extra to it. This section is longer than any of the others on this video, but I had to capture what I love about this Pokemon so much, which is why Kabutops is my favorite Pokemon of all time.